All right, let's move on to number 3. So we can write the point-slope form of the equation of the line described, and then we're given a point with one equation that's parallel and one equation that's perpendicular to our given points, but that's actually pretty much the same thing as giving us our slopes, so it's only adding one extra step here. So we're starting off with our point-slope form. Let's take our point of y minus 2. I'm going to leave the slope empty for now, and then we'll take x minus 4. So now our point's in place. Now let's talk about our slope. So we have it's parallel to this line of y is equal to negative 3/4 x minus 5. Well, if it's parallel, that means they share the same slope of negative 3/4. So I can just copy that down and make up my new equation using that slope, since I know it will be the same. So this equation here goes to the point of 4, 2 and has that slope. And it only asks us to write this in point-slope form, so we're done here. Now for letter B, we've got same idea where our point is 4, 2, 4 this time, so let's subtract y minus 4 is equal to, I'm going to leave the slope blank again, then we'll get x minus 2. Now this time we're told our line is perpendicular to this given line of 2/3 x plus 2. So if it's perpendicular, that means our slope of our line is going to be the opposite reciprocal of this slope. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2, 3/2, and we are going to multiply that by -1. So now we have our final slope, point-slope form equation with our point of 2, 4 and our slope of negative 3/2, which is just, again, the opposite reciprocal of that since they are perpendicular. To wrap up this lesson, let's go over standard form and have a couple of examples where we can review how standard form works. So to remind ourselves, our standard form is where we have our two variable terms on the left-hand side of our equation with their constant values out front, and we can set that equal to a constant term. So it's our x and y terms set equal to a single constant on the right-hand side of our equation. And then we have important information about our standard form here. A, B, and C must be integers. So we don't want fraction or decimal values in this expression or in this equation here. We want to have integers here. And last thing to be a little bit picky with, our A term must be positive. So if we simplify into standard form and we have our leading x term here with a negative value, we just want to make sure we multiply everything by that -1 to make sure that that A becomes positive, so our lead term there is positive. Okay, let's try out number 1. We've got write the standard form of the equation for each line. Then we've got y is equal to negative x minus 3. So we want to make sure this time our y and our x are on the same side. So let's just add our x over to the left-hand side of our equation here. We'll get y plus x is equal to -3. And we know that our addition here is commutative, so I can just flip the order of this and say this is the same as x plus y is equal to -3. And now we already have our standard form. We're done. We've got x plus y on the left-hand side and equal to our constant of -3. In this case, A and B are both just +1 here. So this one looks really simple, but it is indeed in standard form. Okay, now let's try out number 2. So for number 2, why don't you try this one out on your own and see how you do. Once you feel like you've got the right standard form, you can continue on with the video and see if we've got these same answers. But go ahead and pause for now and see if you can work this one through on your own. Okay, so for 2, let's go ahead and subtract our 3/2 x from both sides to get that to the left-hand side of our equation. So now we have -3/2 x plus y is equal to -2. We want to make sure we make this first term, it's got to be both an integer and it has to be positive here for our first term. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by a -2. That way I can make this positive as well as get rid of that denominator of 2 in one step. So that will leave me with a positive 3x minus 2y is equal to 4. So we've got our integer coefficients here on the left-hand side equal to our constant value of 4 there. This one looks good to me. Let's move on for our last few examples here. So now we're just given the point and a slope, but we still want to write something in standard form. Well, when we're given a point and a slope, the easiest thing to do is to just express this in point slope form. So we'll have y plus 4 is equal to negative 1 x plus 5. Since these are both negative, I just canceled out the two negatives there in my standard equation. Now let's solve for this in terms of standard form. Let's make this y plus 4 is equal to negative x minus 5. So I know I'm going to want to get my x over to the left-hand side. So I'll have x plus y plus 4 is equal to negative 5. And let's subtract that 4 from both sides. And we'll get our final standard form of x plus y is equal to negative 9. For number 4, we are just given 2 points. So when we have our 2 points, we're going to need to calculate the slope ourselves. So let's go ahead and find our slope of m is equal to negative 1 minus 4 all over 5 minus 0, which is going to give me negative 5 over 5, which is negative 1. So now we have our slope of negative 1. We can do the same thing where we're taking one of these 2 points and using our point slope form to convert to standard form here. So let's take, I'm going to use this first point and take y minus 4 is equal to negative 1 times x minus 0, which should get us y minus 4 is equal to negative x. And we can nice and easy add our x to both sides. And likewise add our 4 to give us y plus x is equal to 4. Okay, so we've got 2 more to do, 5 and 6. Why don't you see if you can come up with these two on your own? Just to remember, this one is parallel and this one is perpendicular. So keep in mind what that means for our 2 slopes in these cases, but go ahead and work through these two on your own. And once you're ready to go over the solution, you can unpause the video and we'll go over them together. Okay, so for 5, we can take our point slope form again, where we're going to have y minus negative 1 or y plus 1. And we're just going to take that same slope since we know they're parallel. So we have a slope of negative 1 times x minus 1 here. Now let's just work our way through. We'll distribute that negative 1. And let's add that x to both sides. And we get x plus y is equal to 0 here. Last up for number 6. So we've got y minus a negative 3 should be positive 3. So y plus 3 is equal to, now for our slope, we can take the opposite reciprocal of this. So we're going to take negative 3 over 2 this time, times the quantity x minus 3 here. So now we'll have y plus 3 is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 9 over 2. Now let's add our 3/2 x to both sides. And let's multiply everything by 2 to get rid of that fraction for our lead coefficient here. Now we have 3x plus 2y plus 6 is equal to 9. To finish up, let's subtract that 6 from both sides, and we'll get 3x plus 2y is equal to 3. Okay, so that wraps it up for this lesson on writing equations. I will see you all in our next lesson. Until then, take care, everyone.